Welcome back to Building Your Worldview episode 4. Today's topic is the great leap of humanity. Let me start with a question. Do you ever have this feeling? You have enough to eat, a roof over your head, and your basic needs are met. But for some reason, you still feel tired, mentally scattered, or like something is just off. If you've ever felt that way, today's video might connect a lot of dots for you. Because today, we are going back too many years to witness two of the biggest turning points in human history, the cognitive revolution and the agricultural revolution. We will zoom out and look at humanity from a much bigger, much older perspective, and see how the gears of history first started turning. This video has two parts. First, we will explore the cognitive revolution and the agricultural revolution. Then, we will look at the lasting side effects of humanity's great leap. Alright, let's get into it. Our story begins about 2.5 million years ago. Early humans already existed, but there weren't many of them, and they sat somewhere in the middle of the food chain. At the time, humans were basically a minor player in the natural world. Just how insignificant were we? One popular theory says that one of the main uses of our earliest stone tools was cracking open bones to eat the marrow inside. But how did people figure that out? Imagine this. A tiger catches a deer, eats its fill, and walks away. Humans want what's left. The problem is, hyenas want it too. By the time the hyenas are finished, there's almost nothing left. So what do humans do? They're still starving. They search for anything edible, crack open the bones, and discover the marrow inside. Turns out that's food too. Time moves forward. Around 800,000 years ago, humans learned how to control fire, and that changed everything. Cooking made more foods edible, and it also made food much easier to digest. That led to an interesting change. Our digestive tract gradually became shorter. Some researchers believe that this freed up energy that helped fuel the growth of the human brain. Then, around 300,000 years ago, our own species, Homo sapiens, appeared. But despite more than 2 million years of evolution, human progress was still incredibly slow. For the most part, we were just another ordinary animal. That all changed around 17,000 years ago. A remarkable event took place among Homo sapiens. It's what historians call the cognitive revolution. So what actually happened? The most widely accepted theory is that a genetic mutation changed the way humans thought and communicated. It gave us a completely new kind of language. And this language had two superpowers. It was flexible and it was perfect for gossip. Most animals have their own forms of communication, but their signals tend to be simple and limited. They can only communicate a small amount of information. Human language works differently. Even with a limited number of sounds, we can combine them in endless ways to create entirely new meanings. For example, another animal might only be able to communicate, "There's a lion on the hill." Humans can say, "There are 3 lions on the northeast side of that hill. One of them is injured and they are moving toward the river." Our language allows us to share incredibly detailed information. But the second feature is even more powerful: gossip. Most animals can only communicate objective facts about what's happening right now. Humans can do something completely different. We can add interpretation, emotion, and social judgment. For example, a few days ago, I shared some fruit with him. Now he has plenty, but he won't share any with me. He's so selfish. That kind of social conversation, talking about relationships and reputations, was already spreading tens of thousands of years ago. But language was only part of the story. The real breakthrough was the way we started to think. We learned how to tell stories. Not just about things that actually existed, but about things that existed only in our imagination. Take the lion on the hill. A human can say, "You know that lion over there? It's actually our guardian spirit." A guardian spirit is invisible. You can't see it, you can't touch it, but humans can imagine it, create it, and most importantly, get thousands of other people to believe in the same story. Before this shift, a tribe could usually organize no more than about 115 people. But once we developed the ability to create shared stories and shared beliefs, we could coordinate much larger groups. People who had never met could work together toward the same goal. And that's when human cooperation became incredibly powerful. Culture also started evolving at an astonishing speed. Genetic evolution is painfully slow, but cultural evolution can completely transform a society within just a few generations. Armed with this new ability, Homo sapiens spread across the world. Interestingly, wherever humans arrived, many large native animal species disappeared within the next few thousand years. Scientists still debate exactly why these extinctions happened. There's no definitive answer yet, but it's hard to rule out the possibility that humans played at least some role. Even though humanity was advancing rapidly, our lifestyle remained largely the same. For tens of thousands of years, we were still hunter-gatherers. Then, around 10,000 years ago, came a transformation that shaped our lives even more than the cognitive revolution, the agricultural revolution. The agricultural revolution began roughly 9,500 to 8,500 years ago. But why would humans ever give up hunting and gathering to become farmers? Here's one theory. Researchers believe that changes in climate made wheat grow especially well in certain regions. As people gathered wild wheat and carried it home, they accidentally dropped seeds along the way. Over time, wheat started growing naturally near human camps. Once food became available right outside your doorstep, why travel long distances to gather it? So people stayed longer. A few weeks gradually became a few months. As they settled down, they accumulated more possessions. Their homes became larger and sturdier. The population grew, and the cost of living kept increasing. Little by little, humans shifted from a nomadic lifestyle to permanent settlements. At the same time, a more stable food supply allowed populations to grow rapidly. But more people meant more mouths to feed. So, humans began planting crops on a much larger scale and domesticating animals. That's when farming became our primary way of life. The agricultural revolution gave humanity a stable food supply, but it also changed us in two profound ways. The first change was psychological. Before agriculture, the entire world was our home. After agriculture, our house became our home. Once property, land, and possessions appeared, people became much more attached to what they owned. Our identity became increasingly centered around mine. The second change was even more significant. Humans began worrying about the future. Hunter-gatherers didn't spend much time planning years ahead. But once farming tied us to a specific piece of land, life becomes a cycle of planting, weeding, and harvesting. And farming is unpredictable. Your survival depends heavily on the weather. So people had to prepare for droughts, store extra grain, plan for next year's harvest. For the first time in history, constantly thinking about tomorrow became a normal part of daily life. Anxiety about the future and working endlessly to secure it slowly became the default state of human civilization. Alright, now we've reached the key point. Let's go back to the question we started with. If we've already climbed to the very top of the food chain and live more comfortably than ever before, why do so many of us still feel exhausted? The answer is simple. Human civilization has evolved incredibly fast. Our genes haven't. From the emergence of early humans to the cognitive revolution took about 2 million years. From the cognitive revolution to the agricultural revolution took another 60,000 years. But from the agricultural revolution to the industrial revolution and then to today's information age, we've covered that distance in just a little over 200 years. Our brains may have adapted to modern lives, but our bodies haven't fully caught up. Genetically, we're still remarkably similar to the hunter-gatherers who lived tens of thousands of years ago. But the way we live has changed beyond recognition. And that's why we experience what you could call a temporary system incompatibility or a cognitive mismatch. Your brain says, I get it, but your body says, no, I really don't. Let's look at a few examples. Number 1, movement. For most of human history, we moved almost constantly throughout the day. Not intense workouts, just regular, moderate physical activity. Today, many of us either sit at a desk for 8 hours or squeeze in a quick workout at the gym and call it a day. Number 2, diet. Our ancestors ate a wide variety of natural foods. Their diets were diverse and relatively balanced. Today, our diets are becoming increasingly processed, high in sugar and high in fat. Number 3, social life. Humans evolved in tribes of roughly 100 people. We didn't know thousands of people, but the relationships we did have were deep and meaningful. Today, it's completely normal to have over 1,000 contacts on your phone or social media. Yet, only a handful are people you'd actually meet face-to-face on a regular basis. Number 4, stress. Our ancestors were built for short bursts of intense stress. Imagine suddenly running into a tiger. You either fought or you ran. Once the danger was over, your body returned to normal. Today, we face a completely different kind of stress. Work, school, money, relationships, the future. Instead of brief moments of danger, we live with low-level pressure almost every day. Our bodies stay in a constant state of alertness, quietly draining our mental energy. And number 5, information. The contrast here is enormous. For most of human history, people received very little information, and almost all of it came directly from other people. Today, we are bombarded with information every waking hour. News, videos, messages, notifications, opinions, algorithms constantly competing for our attention. If we don't actively filter out the noise, our brains never get a chance to rest. So, if we want to feel less exhausted, we need to adjust both our daily habits and the way our minds process information. Let's start with the easy ones. First, move your body more. Run, jump, climb. Honestly, just think of yourself as a monkey that needs to move. Second, when it comes to food, aim for a balanced diet with more whole foods, more grains, and fiber. As for social life, spend less time on shallow connections and more time building relationships with people you truly trust and people you can sit down with, talk to face, and have real conversations. Now, I want to spend a little more time on 2 biggest mismatches, stress and information. Let's start with stress. One of the most important skills you can develop is learning to separate facts from stories. After the cognitive revolution, humans gained the ability to tell stories. And ever since then, everyone has been trying to put their stories into everyone else's head. You could even say that modern life is surrounded by shared fictions. I like to divide those stories into 2 categories: the stories other people tell and the stories we tell ourselves. The first kind is easy to recognize. One of today's most popular stories goes something like this. A perfect life means owning a house, owning a car, making good money, getting married, having children, and living happily ever after. Success means fame, status, influence, and respect. Failure means not having those things. This story feels true because society has repeated it for a very long time. It's become a shared belief, but it's still just a story we collectively made up. Your story doesn't have to be the same. You get to decide what kind of life you want. Maybe freedom matters more to you, maybe security, maybe creativity. Maybe you are still figuring it out, and that's perfectly okay. A lot of people spend their entire lives without knowing exactly what they ultimately want. You don't have to have your whole life figured out. You only need to know what's worth doing today and maybe what's worth doing tomorrow. So don't automatically believe the stories other people tell you. But here's the interesting part. Don't blindly believe your own stories either. I'm not talking about your life goals. I'm talking about the stories your mind creates whenever something goes wrong. This is incredibly important. Most of the time, what makes you feel exhausted isn't the situation itself. It's the emotional story you've built around it. Imagine someone who's important to you doesn't reply to your message for 2 days. The fact is simple. They haven't replied in 2 days. But the story in your head becomes, do they dislike me? Did I say something wrong? Or imagine your boss rejects your proposal during a meeting. The fact is, your proposal wasn't accepted. But the story becomes, I'm terrible at my job. Maybe I'm not cut out for this. My coworkers probably think I'm incompetent. See the difference? If you can step outside those stories and focus only on the facts, most of the pressure you're feeling becomes much easier to handle. Problems rarely break us. Our emotional narratives do. Whenever you notice yourself getting caught up in a story, try asking yourself 3 questions. First, is this thought 100% true? Second, is believing this story actually helping me? Third, is there another explanation that's more useful or kinder to myself? If you're going to tell yourself a story, make sure it's one that helps you, not one that hurts you. Finally, I'd encourage you to spend a little less time thinking and a little more time simply being. One of the biggest legacies of the agricultural revolution is that it taught humans to constantly worry about the future. But the truth is, we can't control the future. And worrying about it rarely solves anything. That's why I like to give myself what I call primitive time. Time with no agenda, no constant thinking, no endless planning, just slowing down on purpose. Allow yourself to have moments where nothing is happening. In fact, I think we need those moments. Slow down, notice how time starts to feel fuller instead of faster, and simply experience what it feels like to be completely present and fully alive. That's everything for today's video. Thanks for watching. Follow me for more to level up your mind.